Folks, I'm working on this fairly junky little weed eater from Homelite. Homelite used to be a brand that made some really good stuff, but so far as I can tell, they have strayed from that reputation. Anyway, this thing is basically brand new. Customer stated once I got it started, I couldn't get it turned back off. And it has on the side of it this little kill switch, which spring loads to the on position and then toggles to the off position. And it's kind of a pain to take apart, but when I did get it apart, basically one of these two wires is disconnected. So easy fix, but I just want to point out to you how this works and how you could diagnose it if you had the same problem with a different issue. So if you take a multimeter like this, flip it to the ohms sign, which allows you to check the continuity and resistance of a circuit. And then you connect it to these two wires. You can see it says OL, out of limit or open loop. I think there's some debate on what that means. Nonetheless, the way the switch works is when you turn it on, it grounds out the coil. So basically this is a little wire going to the coil, a little wire going to ground. You basically ground the coil so that the electricity from the coil no longer goes to the spark plug, rather it dumps right to the ground of this machine. Anyway, when you push the switch, I'm going to do it now, you'll see that you get continuity. 0.2 ohms is almost nothing. You can also, if you want, turn your meter into continuity mode, so it'll beep when you have continuity. If you don't, maybe you're not able to see this, or maybe you don't quite know what a good ohms reading is, that kind of thing. In this case, it's pretty easy. One additional tip you can do if you don't know what a perfect short to ground looks like is you can short out on purpose your meter like this. So you can basically see with these connected directly, you only have 0.2, 0.3. And actually one technique that you often use with this is you will reset this to 0, in this case the relative button, so that you read only resistance in your circuit and not in your wires and your leads and all those sorts of things. In this case, that kind of detail is not needed, but that's just a little tip. So two tips here, two things to think about. First of all, when you're working on a brand new machine that basically didn't work out of the box, you're gonna be looking for different failure modes than an old machine. So on an old machine, something might be worn out, something might be contaminated. On a brand new machine, they may have forgotten to connect something, they may have put the wrong spark plug in it, things like that. So it's a different set of failure modes that you're looking for. And you may be wondering, well, how did that, get out of the factory like that? And one of the things that happens is if you buy a machine from Steel, and I'm not recommending them, I'm just saying, if you buy a machine from Steel, you have to buy it from an authorized vendor. And that authorized vendor, according to the franchise agreement or the agreement, is required to put fuel in that machine, start it up, and make sure it's working so that the customer gets a good working machine. When you go to Lowe's or Home Depot or Walmart and you buy a machine off the shelf, it has never had fuel in it. And that's because if they had put fuel in it and started it up and let it run, then it all of a sudden becomes hazardous materials and it's expensive and almost impossible to ship. So they have to rely on production methods that do not test the machine at the end like a customer would, what we would call like a hot test. So they take the machines through different steps and processes, but those tests are not able to completely replicate a real world situation where you start it up and you do some weed eating. So I've seen several weed eaters, specifically from Husqvarna, that have had bad coils, namely this sheathing was, the rubber must have been out of specification. It was basically arcing, brand new from the factory. I had two different customers say it's never worked since I bought it. And Husqvarna didn't catch that in their end of line testing on the production line, because again, they can't take them through real world scenarios like a customer would. So yeah, a couple things to look for. Maybe that helped you. If not, I would suggest checking out a YouTube channel called The Repair Specialist. He's a guy from England, does really good stuff on 2-strokes and 4-strokes. His channel's a lot better than mine. So if you don't like this, give it the thumbs down, go over and check him out. I bet you'll like him. Take care, guys.